Geralt, Henry Cavill, Yennefer, Anya Charlotte, and Ciri, Freya Allan were able to effectively negotiate a challenging new family dynamic in The Witcher's third season. The story of the continent's response to the Met Gala was remixed in the style of Ocean's 11, gradually revealing who was really the bad guy all along. More on that later. Esna that Ciri kills, a wyvern employed for circus acts, and a threatening appearance from the Wild Hunt that curiously never turns into a fight are just a few examples of the magical monster battling that took place. Despite a minor hiccup at the conclusion of Part 1, Vilgefortz, Mahesh Jadoo, not Strigover, Lars Mikkelsen, was responsible for corrupting portals and using mind control to trick half-elven girls into believing they were Ciri. Overall, this was the most in control our characters have appeared thus far, if not always content. How does Part 2, though, end? The Thanedd Coup, a crucial event that sets off many subsequent events and character arcs in the Witcher book series, is introduced in the final episode of Part 1, The Art of Illusion. The adaptation for Season 3 follows suit. Before Yen and Geralt can decide what to do with the newly discovered information that Vilgefortz, not Strigover, was responsible for the majority of the mysterious issues this season, Rience, Chris Fulton, The Missing Book of Monoliths, which astute viewers may recall from Netflix's Blood Origin series, the elven kidnappings from Aretuza, and the corrupted portal, Geralt is taken prisoner by Dijkstra. Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. The first episode of Part 2 serves as the introduction to the second section. Geralt's neutrality is put to the test when he discovers that Vilgefortz is behind much of the horror he has witnessed this season, specifically with an aim to track down Ciri, as he has teamed up with the White Flame, Emperor Emhyr, Bart Edwards, in a room with captured mages, including Vilgefortz himself. The general sense of directionlessness that underlies all three of our primary characters' experiences in Section 2 starts here. After attacking Dijkstra and leaving him for dead, Geralt engages Vilgefortz in a bloody fight and ultimately loses, leaving him critically wounded for the majority of the rest of the season. On Geralt's orders, Ciri flees the battle, and after they are split up, Ciri opens a portal in Toralera and unintentionally falls in the barren Korath Desert. After recovering with the Dryads, Geralt is on his way back to Ciri when his neutrality is utterly thrown off. He mistakenly learns that Ciri is with Vilgefortz because she is in Emperor Emhyr's hands, so he kills an entire squad of Nilfgaardian soldiers. In stark contrast to Season 1, Geralt now has a position, and it is in favor of his family. After all, he's even admitted his love for Yen. But every member of the Witcher family is dispersed across the continent. As Aretuza is overthrown by the coup started by her ex-lover Vilgefortz, Yennefer, who managed to avoid capture in the initial coup, despite a skirmish with Lydia, a devotee of Vilgefortz played by Asha Fabienne Ross, leaves Ciri with Geralt and joins the battle to save Tissaia, Maena Beering, from ruin. Aretuza is destroyed despite some success. Tissaia gets a nice shot in on the Scoia'tael that appears vital for the seasons. But who represented which side? The initial coup was planned by Philippa, Cassie Clare, and Dijkstra with the assistance of Redanian warriors and wizards who believe that capturing Vilgefortz and anyone connected to him is advantageous. Vilgefortz encourages Tissaia to release the imprisoned mages, including Vilgefortz, which starts the first round of hostilities. It initially appears positive for the Aretuzan wizards. Geralt attacks Dijkstra after he suggests that he has Ciri. He doesn't. She is at this point being hunted by Rience, until Yennefer and Geralt team up to leave him headless. And this is the end of Geralt's involvement in the main fight for Aretuza. Working alongside Francesca and for Vilgefortz and Nilfgaard, the Scoia'tael succeed in moving forward. Many lives are lost or permanently damaged on both sides as they turn the tide against Aretuza and the magicians. In a storyline term, Strigover supports Aretuza's side. It's a lot, and if you blinked for a moment, you might have missed a few important details. After the coup, Yen allows Geralt to recover and creates the Lodge of Sorceresses to safeguard mages in the wake of Tissaia's untimely suicide due to her guilt over her role in Aretuza's overthrow. The fact that Nilfgaard, Vilgefortz, and Ciri are in her line of sight makes her next moves seem similar to those of Geralt, despite the fact that they are separate and she is not in Geralt's immediate vicinity. Or so she believes. Ciri, who has received assistance from Cahir, who now claims that his life is hers in exchange for ruthlessly destroying her own, is as far away from the action as she possibly can be. She is totally alone after opening a portal to the Korath Desert, save for a strange unicorn that appears to serve as both a friend and a sign. For the duration of the entire episode, Ciri is plagued by visions of her grandmother Callanth, her mother Pavetta, and a strange hooded figure who goes by the name of Falca. Falca, in contrast to the world-saving prophecy that Ciri has been associated with and defined by up until this point, predicts that a child of elder blood like herself will destroy the world. The images reveal Ciri's mental state and concerns, yet Falca and her curse appear a touch too real to be merely a creation of her dehydrated mind. When Ciri is at her lowest point yet, Falca urges her to utilize fire magic, which terrifies her so much that when she is eventually kidnapped, magic is the last thing on her mind. Ciri is swiftly saved by the Rats, a band of non-magical misfits led by Missile, who we first meet when she steals from Ciri earlier. They forcefully advise her to murder her kidnapper. It's Ciri's first truly cold-blooded murder, and it marks the beginning of a new non-magical, non-Witcher Ciri, who, in her opinion, is not even Ciri at all, but goes by the name Falca. Ciri, like Geralt, has entirely misplaced her compass and is stranded in the Dumans of Korth. However, in the wider world, when Dijkstra and Philippa find their king is now one they can't control, their amusing romance between Jaskier, Joey Batey, and Redanian Prince Radovid, Hugh Skinner, comes into play. Dijkstra, who did not die, be on the lookout for the owl. Radovid is crowned king when King Vizimir, Ed Birch, is killed. This occurs right as Radovid prepares to pursue Jaskier. You didn't think Jaskier would let Geralt be alone on an adventure, did you? And aid him and Geralt in their journey to Nilfgaard. Ember is both gaining and losing allies in Nilfgaard itself as anger among the Scoia'tael grows. A disguised Tyrion, whom Geralt saves in Part 1 and who Vilgefortz has indoctrinated into thinking is Ciri, has arrived at Nilfgaard's gates and is being applauded by the audience as Princess Cirilla of Cintra. Because word of Ciri's presence in Nilfgaard is slowly making its way out, Yen and Geralt will think she is there. Ember may or may not be aware that she is a fake, but if we're to believe the novels, we doubt it. Season 4 is going to be a terrible night for our newly discovered Witcher family because all three of our primary characters are currently clearly separated from one another and are lost.